The sun had barely risen over the quiet suburban town of Maple Ridge when Officer Daniel Harris clipped the leash onto Rex, his loyal German Shepherd canine partner. The crisp morning air carried a faint scent of rain, and the streets were still wrapped in the soft haze of dawn. Daniel patted Rex's head, whispering, "Let's make it a calm day today, buddy." But somewhere deep in Rex's golden eyes, there was an intensity that Daniel couldn't quite read. Rex had been acting strangely all morning, restless, distracted, ears twitching at every sound. Normally calm and obedient, he seemed unsettled, pacing by the patrol car, sniffing the air as if he sensed something unseen. Daniel assumed it was nothing, maybe a stray animal nearby or the scent of another dog. He didn't know that within hours, Rex's instincts would lead him to a tragedy that would haunt the entire department. Around 8:15 a.m., the first call came in over the radio. A passerby had reported a woman sitting motionless on a park bench near Willow Creek, clutching her belly. She appeared to be in distress, possibly pregnant, possibly hurt. The dispatcher's tone was calm, but something about the report made Daniel's pulse quicken. He grabbed his hat, opened the back door for Rex, and the two sped toward the park with sirens silent but hearts racing. The park was empty except for a few early joggers and the rustle of leaves dancing in the morning breeze. As soon as Daniel stepped out of the car, Rex began pulling at the leash, whining, nose pressed to the ground. "Easy, Rex," Daniel murmured, following his partner's lead. Then he saw her, a woman in her late 20s, sitting on the bench, pale and trembling. She was heavily pregnant, one hand pressed against her abdomen, the other clutching a small torn handbag. Daniel approached carefully. "Mom, are you all right?" he asked gently. The woman looked up, her eyes wide, lips trembling. I think something's wrong," she whispered. "My baby, it hurts." Before Daniel could respond, Rex suddenly lunged forward, barking furiously, an intense, desperate bark that startled both of them. The woman gasped, shrinking back in fear. "No, keep him away from me," she screamed. But Rex wouldn't stop. He barked and growled, pulling the leash so hard that Daniel had to brace himself. "Rex, sit. That's an order," Daniel shouted, but Rex ignored him for the first time in his career. His body stiffened, nose pointing at the woman's feet, then toward the bushes behind her. Daniel's instincts kicked in. Something wasn't right. "Mom, please stay still," he said calmly, scanning the area. Rex circled the bench, barking louder, his teeth bared, not at the woman, but at something behind her. Daniel's eyes followed his dog's line of sight, and then he saw it. Just barely hidden under the bench, half buried in fallen leaves, was a black duffel bag with a faint metallic glint peeking through the zipper. "Stay back," Daniel shouted, stepping in front of the woman as Rex continued barking. He crouched down carefully, reaching toward the bag, when a sharp beeping sound froze him in place. It wasn't just a bag. It was a bomb. His heart dropped. "Dispatch, this is Officer Harris. We have a possible explosive device at Willow Creek Park. Evacuate the area now," he yelled into the radio. The woman gasped in horror. "A bomb? Oh my God. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know," she cried, her hands shaking. Rex barked again, pulling toward her, then toward the bag, as if torn between protecting her and exposing the danger. Daniel's mind raced. How had she ended up sitting right on top of it? "Mom, listen to me," Daniel said urgently. "We need to move, slowly. Keep your hands where I can see them and take my hand." But before she could rise, Rex lunged forward. Again, growling ferociously. Daniel shouted his name, but Rex's instincts were locked on something, someone, behind them. Then the sound came. A click. A faint metallic snap from the tree line. Daniel spun around, drawing his weapon. A figure dressed in dark clothing emerged from the bushes, holding a small device in his hand, his thumb hovering over a button. "Don't move," Daniel ordered, but the man only smiled, eyes burning with fury. "You're too late," he hissed. And then he pressed the button. Rex's bark turned into a roar as he leapt forward. The next seconds unfolded in a blur, Rex tackling the man to the ground, Daniel diving toward the woman, dragging her away from the bench just as the world exploded in light and sound. The blast threw them both backward, heat searing their skin, the shockwave rattling through their bones. When Daniel opened his eyes, his ears were ringing. Smoke filled the air. The bench was gone, the ground scorched. He looked beside him. The woman was crying, trembling, but alive. "The baby," she whispered weakly. "Is my baby." Daniel reached out, feeling for her pulse, his hands shaking. She was bleeding heavily. "Stay with me," he pleaded. "Help's coming." But then he realized. Rex was nowhere to be seen. "Rex! Rex!" Daniel shouted into the smoke, stumbling to his feet. He could barely see through the haze, the air thick with dust and burning wood. Then he heard it, a faint whimper. He followed the sound, heart pounding, until he saw him lying a few feet away, blood staining his fur, his chest rising shallowly. Daniel dropped to his knees. "No, no, no, stay with me, boy," he begged, cradling Rex's head. The dog's eyes fluttered open, and even in pain, he tried to lick Daniel's hand. Around them, sirens wailed in the distance. Medics arrived within minutes. They rushed the woman to the ambulance, but her condition was critical. Daniel stayed by Rex's side as another officer helped him to his feet. "We'll take him to the animal hospital," the officer said. Daniel nodded numbly, tears streaming down his face. At the hospital, doctors worked frantically to save both lives, the woman's and the dog's. Hours passed like a blur. Finally, a nurse approached Daniel with solemn eyes. "She's in surgery. The baby's heartbeat is weak but still there," she said. "Your dog, he took most of the blast. That's probably why she survived." Daniel's chest tightened. Rex had shielded her. Somehow, he had known the danger before anyone else. He'd barked not in aggression, but in warning. As evening fell, Daniel sat beside Rex's hospital bed, his hand resting gently on the bandaged fur. Machines beeped softly. "You saved her," he whispered. "You saved 2 lives today, buddy." Rex's tail moved faintly, his eyes half open, filled with the same loyalty that had guided him since the day they met. Later that night, a doctor came to see Daniel again. "The woman's stable," he said quietly. "And so is the baby. It's a miracle, they both survived. Without that dog, neither would have made it." Daniel smiled faintly through tears. "His name's Rex. Remember that name." Days passed. News of the explosion spread across the city. Headlines called Rex a hero. But the truth behind the attack emerged slowly. The woman, named Emily, had been unknowingly used by her ex-boyfriend, a man involved in illegal arms trading. He had planted the device in her bag, planning to detonate it remotely while she sat in a public area. Emily had no idea. She had simply gone to the park to rest. When she woke up in the hospital, Daniel was there. Her voice was hoarse, her eyes wet. He was barking at me. I thought he hated me." Daniel shook his head gently. "He wasn't barking at you. He was trying to protect you. He sensed it long before we did." Tears streamed down her face. "And the baby?" Daniel smiled softly. "You both made it." Months later, under a clear blue sky, the Maple Ridge Police Department held a ceremony. Officers lined up, flags waving. Emily stood beside Daniel, holding her newborn baby boy. The mayor handed Daniel a Medal of Honor, but he placed it gently around Rex's neck instead. Rex stood proudly, tail wagging weakly, eyes bright. The crowd clapped and cheered, some wiping tears from their faces. Emily looked down at her baby and whispered, "I'll tell you a story when you grow up, about a brave dog who barked to save our lives." Daniel knelt beside Rex, whispering, "You did good, partner. You did real good." That night, as the world grew quiet again, Daniel sat with Rex on the station steps. The stars shimmered above them, and for the first time in weeks, everything felt still. Rex leaned his head on Daniel's lap, sighing softly. Daniel looked out into the night, thinking about fate, instinct, and miracles that arrive in fur and loyalty. You knew, he whispered. Before any of us did. Rex's eyes closed, peaceful, as if he understood. And in that moment, Daniel realized that sometimes, the greatest heroes never speak a word, they just bark, desperately, until someone listens.